We are rolling.
Good morning. Welcome back to the conversation. This is Midlife Crisis Activities. This is our lifestyles and pop culture webcast. Our daily shout out to the world. I'm your host, Patrick Russell. And over there is my very vivacious producer, Veronica. Together, we're here to lend our voices to the noise from a multi-generational perspective to help explain everything that's right and wrong in this world. Happy Hump Wednesday to you, Veronica.
Happy Wednesday.
We're halfway there, girl. So you remember D.A.R.E from your high school days? That's the Drug Abuse Resistance Education program. Yeah, they're still around, and, you know, every once in a while they pop their head up to bring their ire towards maybe a show or a movie or a trend that might be glamorizing drug use. And so they've trained their eyes on the HBO Max Euphoria show, that great coming-of-age teenage show where you have Zendaya essentially going through the entire show, being high, out of her mind, and just making a wreck of every relationship from any other character that's on that show, right? So my question to you is, from a younger generation's perspective, do you believe that this show, which has its star character running around with zits on her face, having a dysfunctional relationship with everybody else on the show, essentially a car wreck in Chuck Taylor's, do you believe that this is an advertisement or a cautionary tale for the younger generation? Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'm glad that you pronounced the name correctly, because I actually have to Google it again just to make sure. And it's so funny because even on one video she's like, I'm tired of people pronouncing the name incorrectly. So Zendaya. Right?
It's not Zendaya, it's Zendaya. And is it D silent? I'm not sure. Maybe with your flair it can be silent.
Yeah, so, well, first of all, I just wanted to clarify that I kind of have to, reconnect myself with the name.
I'm sure she appreciates that.
Yeah, and then second of all, based on your question, well, I love the show. The only thing that I'm kind of in the middle between... As a viewer, I enjoy the show, but also if I see it from a different perspective, they make that show and being high all the time kind of cool. So I'm not sure how young people are going to take it. I mean, come on, I'm older, so I'm over that. But younger people like my niece, she's 14, right? So I'm not sure if she's going to watch the show and then she's going to be like, oh, that's kind of, I mean, that's nice, you know? So in my mind, it's like a two-gun perspective. It's cool, but also it's not right.
Let's define cool. If I'm understanding this correctly, I don't think the actual theme and the storyline leads to a cool ending.
It looks cool though. No, it looks cool. Yeah, it looks cool.
Aesthetically, we're talking about a hyper-realistic show, right? With the lights, with the music, with the fast-paced editing and cutting.
Yeah.
And so stylized, aesthetically, it does look very cool.
Yeah.
But the results of what happens inside the story, the plot lines that go sideways, it all starts off with them being whacked out of their minds, either on drugs or on alcohol, and making bad decisions. I would say that would really be the theme of the show, even though it looks fantastic.
Yes, but also you and I are seeing it from an older perspective. But you know that
older than others.
Yeah, but you know that when young people watch this type of shows, they don't care about the end result. They care about the fantasy of being high. I mean, some of them, not all of them, but that's what I'm kind of in the middle. And I even told my niece, hey, when we first started watching the show, go ahead and watch the show. And I'm like, maybe it's not the best show for her to watch at this moment.
You bring up a kind of an interesting point that reminds me that there must have been a clause in Zendaya's contract that stipulated, I want to see dicks. And not just normal dicks, I want short and stubby dicks. That's all you see on the show, and that might be what it is in real life, but there's definitely an emphasis on full frontal nudity, especially when it comes to the guys that are on their show. And it's not a porn flick, let me tell you. Would I be right on that? From what you've seen, have you been impressed in any way with any of the packages you've seen, or have actually kind of laughed in most cases? Be honest.
I kind of laugh about it, but see,
I mean, when you got a screen full of a stack of dimes staring back at you, it's not something that really is an erotica moment. It's more of a chuckle moment.
Yeah, but see, this is what I'm saying. This show, and once again, I love the show, but I'm not sure what I feel about introducing that show to my kids, my niece, my nephew, because I mean, it has a lot of I mean, people can call it pornography, I guess, because they're showing everything. I mean, that can
It's
be
an
probably
explicit
considered.
show.
Yeah.
It's not for young people. It's definitely for
But
the
it's-
older
but
teenagers, young
it's-
adults, and adults. It's mature entertainment, no question.
I mean, but younger people are gonna watch it anyway. So I mean,
You mean like my two teenage
15-year
daughters?
yeah, yeah. So, and like I
My
said,
14 and 15 and 12-year-old?
the only what happens is that I don't know how they're gonna translate that into their real life or like
Oh.
realistic perspective, right? So once again, you and I,
Easy.
yeah, you and I are
Let me
like,
talk to you about my final note.
yeah, you and I are like, oh, we went through that kind of thing. You know, we're older, we're married. That's fine. I understand that perspective behind the scenes, but I'm not sure how someone younger will
With
see
fresh
it.
eyes who doesn't have the experience,
Yeah.
what it looks like to them.
Yeah.
I understand. Does it look like a piece of candy or, a stop sign?
Kind of, yeah.
So my final note is that parents have been fighting and combating Google and YouTube for parenting advice for almost a couple of decades now. In fact, bringing up my daughters again, having the bees, the birds and the bees talk.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Just even bringing that up. I got the hand. No, Dad. I've already taken care of it. I've already asked Google or I've already watched a YouTube video.
But how scary that is, though. How scary that is.
It is kind of scary, but it's also a reality of parenting today. You can't avoid it. You know, when the little kids that are like now 9, 10 years old are beginning to have devices in their hands, they're already at that point starting to be inundated by that social media stream of consciousness. That's the advice is always there. The questions to be answered are always there without, at this point, the parental judgment per se, like the big lecture that goes along with the answer that you're trying to get. It's now so easy for these kids to get the basic 101 ABCs of most challenges in life from social media now. Well, and that was my final note. It's not just Google and YouTube, it's now social media that's now replacing parenting, and we have to fight back on it, or another way of looking at it is we have to integrate social media and YouTube and the power of Google into our parenting mechanics, so that we're not telling our kids don't use the same thing that we're using every day, but to use it responsibly. Am I right?
My last point is that it kind of opened my eyes how sometimes we don't know how to help people. In this case, like, she is basically letting us know, hey, this is how I feel when I'm, she has obviously psychological problems, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure. And she's a teenager that's going through some depression and has lost that feeling of hope.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, even myself, I wouldn't really know how to help someone like that because I haven't had anyone close in the same situation. But and then in her life, we see how the mom is not doing, I guess, what will be best, or the sister. So she's just kind of like wandering around, like hoping that she can get fixed,
Well, in the storyline, obviously makes her a challenging character where it's better for her not to have answers to her life because we actually enjoy seeing her just spiraling further and further out of control. Let's face it, that's more than likely the idea of the show, is to see how a person can just unravel. Guys, there's no right answer, there's no wrong answer, but there definitely is your opinion. Please don't just subscribe to this channel, even though we will be doing this back and forth on a daily basis, but lend your voice to the show. It'll make it a whole lot more fun. Guys, remember, it doesn't matter what comes your way today. It doesn't matter what obstacles or challenges that you may face. You just need to remember one thing.
Give 'em hell.
Happy Hump Wednesday, everybody.